Hi everyone. Welcome to All Things Royal. In today's video, I thought it would be good to explore some details from the book, A Housekeeper's Diary, Charles and Diana Before the Breakup, by Wendy Berry. Wendy Berry was the housekeeper at Highgrove, which was one of the homes where Diana and Charles stayed in when they were together. This book was actually banned in the UK, primarily due to legal actions taken by the then Prince Charles against Berry and the publishers of this book. Wendy Berry actually fled to America to escape the legal repercussions of her book. She has since been allowed to return when her son was diagnosed with leukemia. This is not your ordinary tell-all book. While you might think that this is just some gossip from a disgruntled ex-employee, this is actually more than that. It is a household staff's perspective of the events prior to the breakup between Charles and Diana. This book can also show us how it was like, from a staff's perspective, for William and Harry in the midst of their parents' acrimonious marriage. This book is neither Team Diana or Team Charles, but towards the end, it was I think more Team Charles because it also showed Charles being an affectionate and loving parent to the boys. Anyway, let's start with how Wendy got the job as housekeeper. Wendy's son James was actually a footman for Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, and James recommended her to Charles as housekeeper. Charles and Diana's housekeeper was diagnosed with cancer and had to quit her job. Wendy Berry was offered £5,600 a year and was given residence at the Gate House at Highgrove. She started working for Charles and Diana in 1985. One of the funny stories she shares during that time was when a couple of detectives or police security detail assigned to Charles and Diana stormed into the boudoir and caught the couple in the throes of passion. Charles was so angry, of course, and shouted at the detectives to get out. It turns out that while in the throes of passion, Diana accidentally whacked the security alarm with her heel. Wendy revealed that that incident was a source of mirth for the staff on many occasions. Wendy sadly noted that since then, they were never witness to the couple in the throes of passion. She also said that the couple were very much civil with one another during the early years she was there. Diana referred to Charles as my hubby and Charles referred to Diana as darling. They were always loving in front of the boys, but they were not passionate with one another. They got along well, and Wendy said that it seemed like a good partnership. On Fridays, they usually came to Highgrove with guests and they would stay until Sunday lunch. During the early years of her stay in Highgrove, there were also fun times for the boys. Charles often spent time with the boys outdoors and they would get muddy in the garden. Charles would get into all sorts of horseplay with his sons and he would tour them around the farm. They would come in late in the evening all muddy and their nanny Barbara Barnes would help get them into their baths and their jammies. They would then join Diana in her sitting room in the evening. They'd watch movies and cuddle up or play games. Charles would also have his bath and join the family. After the boys headed to bed, however, Charles and Diana pretty much would go their separate ways to their separate bedrooms. Wendy described Charles as having a quick temper, but then he'd also soon get over his anger and carry on. Diana was compassionate and warm to the staff. But she had the tendency to get really close to you, but just as suddenly also turn cold on you. Wendy said, you wouldn't know what you did wrong to make her turn on you. And when Diana turned on you, she would not talk to you or acknowledge you, sometimes even looking right through you. Wendy Berry also revealed how she and the staff would pretend not to see or hear anything happening between Charles and Diana. They just made sure the household was being run efficiently. Even if it was obvious that Charles and Diana were arguing loudly, the staff would act like they heard nothing, especially in front of the boys. Wendy also mentioned how the nanny Barbara Barnes seemed to be more focused on William. She was affectionate with both William and Harry, but she was more focused on William. But this seemed to also be the attitude of the rest of the staff, who focused more their attention on the future king. Charles, on the other hand, lavished attention equally on both boys. He often spent as much of the weekend with them as he could. Wendy said that she and the other staff were irked with the media, who would make out Charles as a remote father when they knew this was not true. Now Wendy Berry also talks about the time following Charles and Diana's Australia tour, where there were reports of Charles being jealous of the attention which Diana got and how this sort of started the breakup between the couple. Wendy Berry writes that after the tour, Diana was so excited and thrilled. She chatted to some of the staff, including Wendy Berry, about it. She was telling them about the many photographers taking pictures of her, and she asked if the staff saw the pictures. Wendy Berry said they did and proceeded to show her the newspapers packed with their pictures. Diana was so excited about these photographs, and in the next hour, she looked over these images, pointing out which ones were good ones and which ones were the nice clothes she wore, the good angles she had, the bad angles, etc. And this went on a long while, to a point where some of the staff got uncomfortable because they had other tasks to see to. But Diana did not seem to get tired poring over these pictures. At that time, Diana's detective or police protection officer was Barry Manaki, and he was one of those alleged to have an affair with Diana. But Wendy has been emphatic in saying that she did not believe Diana and Barry had anything going on. She believed it was more like Diana being affectionate with staff and Barry being supportive of Diana. He was a shoulder to cry on for the princess. He was warned by a superior about his closeness to Diana and eventually was removed as Diana's detective. Wendy implied that Diana could be demanding of her staff in providing her support, including emotional support, so I doubt if Barry could simply ignore Diana if she is sobbing her heart out in a corner. Another thing which Wendy talked about is that there was also a time when there was a huge fight between Charles and Diana, and she ran from the dining room to her bedroom. Berry was in Charles' bedroom tidying up, and she heard Diana sobbing in her bedroom with the door still open. Berry wanted to go and give her comfort, but she felt this might be overstepping the mark. Anyway, she just bided her time and snuck out of the bedroom area, taking the back stairs. She actually met up with Barbara Barnes and the two boys who were sneaking down the back stairs. Barbara wanted to take the boys to their father in the dining room. Wendy said that the boys ran when they saw their father, and Charles scooped them up. And this shows that Charles was also as affectionate as Diana with the boys. But it is also very telling to note how the staff must have been under a lot of stress when Charles and Diana had their fights. The nanny especially had a huge role in protecting the boys, taking them for walks or keeping them away from their parents when they were fighting. Diana's dresser Faye Appleby was also very much affected by what was happening to the couple, because it seemed like Diana had the habit of taking out her frustrations out on her. She would make Faye re-iron all her dresses, for instance, when she was not in the mood after a fight with her husband. Diana also had the habit of sneaking in and listening to her staff's conversations. She would walk barefoot and listen in on staff's conversations. Wendy found this out because one time she heard a noise in the hallway and tiptoed to check, and opens the door to see Diana barefoot going back to her room. Then they would get a call requesting Faye to go up to her room, and of course Faye would be scolded by Diana. So of course after this the staff were very careful about what they said to one another privately, and this made for a very uncomfortable workplace. Anyway, the staff would usually have a Christmas party at Highgrove with Charles and Diana. Charles would give a speech thanking the staff for their hard work, and Diana was charming and lovely, talking personally to everyone. The staff was usually given £20 to buy themselves a present which they wrapped, and Charles and Diana would hand out to them during the party. So this book shows us a balanced take on the life of Charles and Diana, at least during the 7 years before their separation. Berry reveals more in the next chapters, which I will discuss in my next video. For now, let me know what you think of the revelations thus far made by Berry. Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, don't forget to like my videos and subscribe to my channel. Bye. I'll see you in the next video.